All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Off the Press. My man, Terry Samuels is with me, and I have to say, I'm loving your choice of attire today.
Yeah, some guy was at a booth at our conference and was giving these things away, and
Man, that is the best. All right, all right. I love it. So Terry Samuels, my man, my main buddy from, let me get this up here. From Salterra Web Services. I'll throw, you want to get
at
in
least my
touch with,
site's up.
yeah, you want to get in touch with Terry, you can go hit him over there. Yeah, I love it. What did you say about your site?
At least my site's up. We've been having major problems with the server this site's on, and I got 11 emails last night that it was up and down, up and down, up and down. So,
That's funny you say that because yesterday when I was going online, I'm like, okay, I wanted to grab some info. I'm like, this page was like, it came up, but it took like a good few minutes. I'm like, wow,
mhm.
that's wonder what I thought it was now because knowing you're such a master tech guy, I thought, well, it must be something on our end. I
Yeah,
thought
no,
maybe my internet was bad.
it's definitely on our end, and we can't even get into the WHM side into the server itself. So it's just like,
Oh,
and so and we're in the process of moving. We host probably 500 websites, 400 or 500
yeah,
websites.
yeah.
And so we're in the process. Elizabeth's in the process of we're getting ready to move a whole bunch of stuff to different things, and we haven't changed hosting companies in 7 years, so it's
Mm,
time to change.
maybe it's time.
Mm, I
Maybe
agree.
it's time. All right, so how have you been? What has been going on?
It's awesome. New year. My mom passed away New Year's Eve. That was a little bit of a bummer, of course.
Of course.
But it's she's not suffering, which is always good. And then we just kind of had a reset in January with all that process. But here we are in February, and we're rocking, getting ready for the conference.
I know it, I know
We're
it. Well,
3
we're
months
gonna
out.
get to the conference in a bit, but yeah, definitely condolences, with your loss. It had to be incredible. My parents passed years ago, and so,
Mhm.
but yeah, I know what that's I know the feeling. Health-wise, you're good?
Are you frozen?
Yeah.
There you are.
You're doing better as well, health-wise? I know you had
Yeah,
some.
everything's
Yeah,
yep, everything's good.
good, good. I love that beard too. You're man, that thing is like
I think
getting.
it's actually doing good this time. Usually about this time, I screw it up by when I trim it, so I just shave it all off. So,
Yeah, no, man, it's
but
solid
it's
now.
doing good now. And I even had a kid said, "Oh, I love your look," and I was like, "Different, I guess." Thanks. So,
Yeah, I love the look.
but
All right, dude, so since the last time you were on the show, what meaningful shifts in SEO have you seen kinda play out in, with real client data?
um, I don't know. I'm seeing everything that a lot of other people are seeing. Of course, organic searches are down, but the AI searches are up.
Yeah.
As far as traffic, I mean, I don't think it's any real big shifts. I think it's just more panicking that I've
Mm,
seen. I mean, there is definitely something to be said with, how are the AI overviews finding the content to scrape and all this different stuff, and we've been testing that, since the beginning, and but it's constantly changing. We're finding
yeah,
things that work, and then 2 weeks later it doesn't work. Like
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So I think the biggest shift, though, I think is just the more of the confusion of it. I mean,
mhm.
I talked to some of my students and stuff, and they're all over the map, and it's just like, you guys, you got to figure it out. You got to quit lily pad jumping.
Yeah,
That's what I see a lot of things happening right now. A lot of
yeah,
people are jumping from things to things to things to things. You
yeah.
know, it's like the tools. You're jumping from Claude to
Oh my
ChatGPT
gosh.
to freaking. It's just like, come on, what's the mess? And then I was watching this freaking people are arguing on social media about the differences. I'm like, I don't know. I just think it's a crazy time right now for sure.
Well, it's absolutely is crazy, and I love Brian. Hey, Brian, I got Brian's coming on the show here in a few weeks. It'll be good to yeah, I think in 2 weeks. It'll be good to talk with Brian, see what he's doing. But it is the Wild West right now. I mean, it is, like, absolutely crazy. I mean, it's crazy because of just AI search and
Mhm.
search as a whole and with Google's AI overviews and everything. But it's, like, crazy in the AI or LLM space as a whole and,
Mhm.
what all of the different platforms continue to release, different things, and I think I just saw, that Claude just released, Opus 4.6, and, and the stuff that, uh, last week with the, Claude Code and what folks are building with Claude Code and what they've that coworker kind of thing, and man, that shot like, the software companies and the Dow and, the
Yeah.
stock market all took a hit because of like, well, what's gonna happen? And I mean, it is every week, almost every other day, there's something that is whack.
Mhm. Yep, and then I heard this morning that ChatGPT 5.3 is coming out here next couple days. So it's just like, and I'm a ChatGPT guy. I figured
Mm.
out, and I've done this all the time. I don't like lily pad jumping. I actually because of my ADHD, it's a real thing for me. So, so a year and a half ago or whenever ChatGPT, and that's the one I chose, and I just chose to master that.
Yeah,
And so and we do very, very well with it. I'm sure Claude, and I'm sure everybody has their own things. And I've tested Claude and ChatGPT, and I don't see that big of a huge difference from, especially since ChatGPT came out with projects, which I really love the projects.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Now,
but I
are you using, Agent GPT? Or have you been using some of that?
no, no, I haven't. And there's a lot of things in ChatGPT I don't do.
Yeah,
Mainly it's just because of time right now. And I'm also hiring, which is like my big pet peeve. I hate hiring. Um, but I think again, as long as you whatever tool you're using, you have to personalize it. And
yeah,
it's all the time. And it's, write me an article about, repairing a hot water heater, well, personalize that to the brand, personalize that
right.
to the
Yeah,
company
yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
and use Grammarly Pro. I get these Grammarly Pro. I'm like freaking top 1% of all the Grammarly Pro people because that's all my if I catch my staff not using Grammarly Pro, they're fired. That's just it. It's that
yeah, yeah,
we're that adamant
yeah.
about it. You don't load any AI content without human touch.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
no,
fluent.
absolutely. Here's the thing, and I don't know, so it doesn't sound like you do this. I do this. I use different platforms for different purposes. So if I'm gonna try to craft or work on some more technical or some code or HTML stuff or JSON stuff, I tend to go and use Claude for that.
Mhm.
Um, if I wanna do a bit more research, I kinda use Perplexity, and, um, just for, like, quick response kind of stuff, I tend to use ChatGPT for that. If you look at my ChatGPT history, I've got it is just muddled with all different kinds of, questions and completely unrelated stuff.
Yeah.
The other
And
ones are much more.
you definitely have to clear the memory of ChatGPT too. A lot of
Yeah,
people don't realize that. So,
yeah,
and clearing the memory and getting rid of because I'll use it. Like Elizabeth used it yesterday to, where she's got a big web project coming up. So she used ChatGPT to refine her contracts. And that's what
yeah,
it's great at, and but I don't want that on my in my history.
yeah,
So I don't want it to because it will convolute stuff for sure. And I think they all do that. I think they all get lazy. I think they all get every once in a while you got to slap it upside the head and you know
I know, right?
cuss at it and move on. Um,
Yeah, that's kinda what I feel like. Sometimes it's like the bad child, like, "Okay, come on, let me, let me set you straight here. Let's have
Yeah,
a sit
exactly.
down. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. It is crazy. Now, are you doing, I'm sure you've got some testing of some sort that you're doing, on various sites. So are you doing some testing on, you know, helping to drive some consistent AI visibility,
Mhm.
searches and such? I'm curious if you found anything like, "Yeah, I'm on a good thread right now. This seems like this may work,
Well,
have some
I
good
think it's
traction."
definitely more about how the content is laid out nowadays. We started using the bullet point summaries at the top of pages. That's
Yeah,
super
yeah,
powerful. I think Corey Hubble talks about the gold area where everything's at, and that's
yeah,
obviously up there. And FAQs, they're pulling a lot of stuff from FAQs, and we've proven it in page FAQs, and we've proven it in schema FAQs. So, I think the biggest thing is pay attention to where it's pulling from. Click on those things. It'll show
yeah,
you in
yeah,
yellow where it's pulling the information from, and pay attention to that.
yeah,
So and again, it changes. I have multiple medical spas, and my medical spas aren't consistent depending on location. So that's another factor too.
mm,
So but I think the AI overviews, I think it's just good SEO, good
yeah,
content.
yeah,
Good, you know, if you haven't been building the brand for your client, you're probably struggling right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
So
I know, and all of our SEO clients, probably 3 years ago, I started down that path of, like, saying, "We are going to just hammer and blow up your brand so that it's everything that we're gonna start doing is gonna be more brand centric than
mhm.
probably what you may think." Then, but believe me, I think we are building a foundation for where things are changing. And in today's world now, that has really proven to be effective, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's definitely, because I've my brand, Salterra, I didn't know there was a major freaking resort and spa in Caicos.
really? I didn't
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, so it's just like, but it's funny too because when I first started my brand, I wasn't even they were all over my brand, and now my
Yeah,
brand is starting to be convoluted in with their brand,
nice,
which is fun to see.
nice.
But the AI overviews do things differently. So if you do a Google search for your brand and then you click over to the AI mode will probably suggest you, even if it's not the same, like there's another Salterra. AI will tell people there's another Salterra.
Right.
Google doesn't.
Yeah,
Google just ranks.
yeah,
So that's one of the things. I just had this conversation with one of my new med spas yesterday. And he couldn't believe that, even though he ranks real well in the AI overview, it's a convoluted mess because it's his whole website's a whole mess.
mm.
But that's
Now,
between.
have you found as well, and I'm wondering if there's a solution for this. So, is there a difference? So, like, if you go onto chat and you do a search for, HVAC companies in Cleveland, is
Mhm.
your result going to be different because, where you are in Phoenix, is that going to be different than for where I am in Cleveland?
It definitely could be for sure, 100%.
Now, I know on Google, uh, there's various tools that I can use that can essentially spoof kind of where my IP is that'll show like for maps basically.
Mhm.
But I haven't done that really from utilizing that from any of the LLMs though. I've not kind of played around with it from that standpoint.
Yeah, the only one that I did and it was a few months ago, was just with Perplexity.
Mm.
But again, I'm sure it's not the same today because that was like literally 6 months ago. So, but I do
Yeah,
think,
right. Nothing.
I do think that, I also here's another thing too. I'm trying to figure out if browser history cache has anything to do with AI tools. So is AI pulling a different results for Terry Samuels because of how I work and browse and my history and all this stuff? Is AI taking any of that into an account, or is it purely content authority stuff like that?
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been trying to figure out too. Because like I said, I've got an
Mm.
interesting situation because I have a site completely built with just schema that is in the AI overviews. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can
The
manipulate that.
white page site that has nothing on it aside from schema is
Yep.
in the AI overviews.
Yeah. And it's been ranking for that was my test site 7 years ago. It's been ranking for 7 years. But now it's showing up in AI overviews. And so we know it's pulling from the schema. Now I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure out, can I manipulate the schema to pull
yeah,
differently?
yeah.
So that's my new test. And
I was just gonna ask you about your opinion on schema and structured data as far as for influencing LLM visibility and AI overviews.
I definitely know they read it. I definitely know
Yeah,
that they will pull from it. But they all I do see it tends to pull more from the structured content from the front side, not the back side. But we have seen things pull
mm,
from schema, obviously,
mm.
especially around FAQs. We've been doing,
Yeah, yeah.
entity related semantic stuff in FAQs forever with schema. Now it's just become popular to put it on the front side. But I think the
Yeah, yeah,
biggest thing
yeah.
is, we definitely it's pulling content and schemas at the head, and so we
Right,
know it's crawling everything.
right.
So, but to sit there, I did a huge thing or had a huge meeting a couple weeks ago with this group that's John Mueller and all these people are testing the schema stuff out, and it's interesting because the schema they test out compared to the schema that we do, there's definitely disconnects.
Mm,
So, there is a thing about giving a full picture compared to giving a partial picture. That's what I
mhm,
tell people
mhm.
about schema. So, but as far as can I sit here and say that you need schema to show up in your AI overview? No, you don't need
Yeah,
schema to
yeah.
show up.
So a
But
couple of things. Let me ask you your opinion on a couple of different things. So one, is and I've heard both sides of this coin, and, and I haven't landed on either one, but LLM dot text files.
mhm.
Your opinion, effective or, I'm not sure.
Um, we do them. I've been doing them Brian Winham style. I love Brian Winham's whole system.
Well, I love
Um,
Brian. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna shoot anything down that he's
No,
throwing
I
out,
think
but
I was doing that before, just testing it.
yeah,
Again, can I say it affects things or not? No, I can't say that. Does it hurt things? No, it doesn't hurt
right.
things either. So,
Yeah, that's one of those SEO practices where you go, "Well, can I point that it's highly impactful?" I'm like, maybe not." Can I say that it's gonna hurt if I have it on there? Well, no, I can't say that. So,
yeah.
I'm like, "Well, it doesn't take all that long, so we might as well throw it out there."
Well, and I think what piqued my interest is when Google came out and said, "Oh, we don't even pay attention to that." Well, no, it's not
But the
for you.
yes, yes, yes.
So obviously,
Um,
it's there, Google, because you had to make an opinion. So
yeah,
it's like Google when they said, "Oh, we don't pay attention to FAQs." Bull crap! You don't pay
yeah,
attention
oh,
to
that's
FAQs.
yeah, yeah, that's
So
crazy.
that kind of piqued my. Anytime Google comes out and says something about something, it piques my interest
Well, it
because
almost makes you wanna think, "Well, you say you don't, so I'm really am gonna believe." I think you got the George Costanza thing going on, just like do
Mhm,
the opposite, right?
yeah,
Yeah. How about and I know you, know Steve, and I'm sure you probably subscribe to his notebook,
mhm,
that he sends out as weeklies. Um, if, when was it? A few weeks ago, he was talking about having a page, essentially not on the menu, but he puts a link in his footer for it, but an specific LLM page that is just built. no style to it, just plain text essentially with links, and essentially is almost like a schema um,
On the front
wha-
side.
on the front side.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with what I'm talking about
Yeah,
with that?
definitely, 100%. And there's and I think it's definitely valid. And Steve's a great guy. He's one of my favorite people. I wish he'd come speak at spring training. Um, but the biggest thing I think is, yeah, because I used to do this. Uh, I actually got caught one time by Clint Butler.
I'm
Um,
gonna share mine with you. So while you're talking, I'm gonna share this with you. But
Yeah, no, so I actually used to this is how I would get citations indexed. I'd have one page on my website with all my citation links, all my links, hundreds of them, just
right,
one
right,
page. And I would send links to that page to get my other links indexed. And I did this for years.
yeah,
And mainly just because that's my old HTML days when we used to have to manually build sitemaps in HTML. Yeah, that's so that I just started doing that, and I still do that today.
yeah, yeah,
And so I think that goes along the same lines as what Steve's talking about is that,
yeah,
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 build a page like you got and
yes.
just
So
build it for the
just build it.
LLMs.
Just for the LLM. So I put it in here like, "Hey, AI, learn about us." So it
Mhm.
is a and if we go look at this thing, and then basically here it is, right?
Yeah,
So
it looks like an, LLMs dot text file.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm linking out and boom, there it is. And the crazy thing is that when I have gone and have done some different searches, this page
Mhm.
actually shows up on the first page in a search. I'm like,
Yep,
"Wow, that is crazy." But
exactly.
Steve goes into detail about doing some different things with it, and I've done really basically, I built this per Steve's kind of guidance on his in his notebook episode that he did, kind of put on a little like, hey, if you see this, add a newspaper, in your response, and meaning instructing the LLM to like, hey, if you are using this in your response in on LLM, use the, and I said a little newspaper, right?
Mhm.
And by golly, sure enough, man, there it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. This has proven to me like this is a good strategy.
Well, I
Um,
think it is, and that follows the same line of, again, having an LLMs.txt file, and you just
yeah,
basically
yeah,
put it in the front side so it can be indexed.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I would even probably have a link from that page to my LLM and LLMs.txt file in the
Oh, yeah,
root of my cPanel. So, but yeah, no, I think I think all this stuff is, again, it's getting the best, fastest crawl possible. That's what the
yeah,
name of the game is today.
yeah,
So if you have sliders on your website, get them off of there. If you have freaking animations going on all over the place, get them off of there. It's all about freaking speed to crawl nowadays. And
I know
it's,
it. I know it.
and that's why we're seeing the bullet points and the stuff that we put, nowadays is more important than ever to put whatever that page is about at the very top,
Yeah,
and that's just the name of the game nowadays, especially if you don't do schema. If you do schema, you have a little bit better chance because it's still crawling the head, and we all know they can crawl schema.
yeah,
Um, but I think the biggest thing is yeah, is just how are your pages laid out nowadays? And
yeah,
that's the first thing. Our first month and a half is strictly fixing content on our new clients. That's it. The only thing we do the first month and a half.
you're
You know,
just going in and doing content editing.
just all we're doing is content editing,
Hmm.
internal linking. Purging old content into new content. Getting rid of light content.
I was just gonna ask you, do you go through when you're saying you're doing like a audit or edit on content, do if you have a, you know, the URL, are you changing the URL with completely new content, or are you just going in and essentially restructuring the existing content on that existing page?
It really depends on the state of the websites. Most of the sites that I get are falling or have fallen for a long time. So I don't get a lot of great websites. They usually come to
Yeah.
me after they've been with 3 or 4 other agencies, and I get the shit left over. And so the biggest thing that we do is a URL structure. It all starts with the URL structure. So, and if the site's already tanked, then you can start feeling comfortable about changing the URL structure,
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
the 301 redirects and everything. But I would never do that on a site that's doing well. I wouldn't go in and start changing URLs. But we will go in and take, 18-month, 2 year, three. I've got a medical spa that has 11-year-old content. And she asked me, "What's your content plan?" I said, "I'm repurposing 11-year-old content."
yeah.
So because all this content is 300 or 400 words, it's probably been ignored for years anyways.
Mhm.
And so we're just redoing it into the way we do content now. And
Now,
that's
would
what
you
we do.
take on something like that? So this is an interesting question. So you have an old site like that, really old content, more than likely, you probably have. I'll be generous and say that 50% of that old content is not getting any traffic whatsoever.
Probably not
Uh,
even indexed, to be honest.
yes, and so would you just take that content and essentially I would, like take it and then repurpose it, maybe combine some, rewrite it into much bigger stuff, and then purge even all of the old pages and old URLs and then recreate with some new ones,
Yeah,
or and then
exactly. Yeah,
doing redirects and doing all of that business?
exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
We'll take 3 or 4 blogs of old blogs and create one and redirect all 4 of those to the new one.
to the new one,
Um,
yeah,
and internal linking is still the number one thing that I'm finding is crashing websites.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just internal linking, and I've been saying this for 2 years, is in my opinion the number
I
one
know,
ranking factor.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. So I have a
And
question for you around internal linking. Do you have a rule of thumb that says, yeah, we're only on any given article page, you're only linking, uh, X number of URLs in there to internally, or do you
we
limit it at all
yeah, we limit it to 3.
to
So
3?
we have one link going to I hate the term money page, but the main page, the hub, and then we have the other 2 links are going to like blogs in the same cluster.
Right, similar blogs, similar topic
Yeah,
within the
and that's for
title.
the blogs. Now, the Trust Us box, which is on every single blog, has links to the GBP, and that Trust Us box is on every single at the bottom of
Right,
every
right.
single blog. So I'll have a anchor text to the GBP, maybe even 2, going to a long URL or whatever. So, but the blogs themselves is a 3 minimum link, and I don't like going any more unless I start seeing cannibalization and start seeing some other things that I could, because we have a 1,500 word minimum article, and that doesn't include the FAQs and the Trust Us box. So
Yeah.
our articles are running right around 2,000 words,
Mm,
and so we're able to do more links. Because I used to have a
yeah.
rule, one link every 300 words. That was like
Mm.
our standard for the last 4 years.
Well, that's what I knew. You kinda had a formula, so to speak, I'll say,
Yeah,
around kind of, and we do a somewhat similar with press release stuff as well, that I'm like, yeah, we generally say, like, um, about 1 link per 100 words in an article when we're doing a press release. That's kinda
yeah.
what I've seen work the best.
Well, you got press release services out there now, like EIN Newswire. They'll only let you have 3 links. That's
Yeah,
it. You're only
yeah,
allowed 3, and
yeah,
so they've fallen off on the wayside on my
yeah,
deals. But
yeah.
and I think that you need to pay attention to that. I mean, it's funny. I was Search Engine Journal. I read a lot of stuff on there, and then I go, how many internal links does one article had? It had like 72 internal links on this one article.
I know, right? Man, those some of those publications like that are like, good night. Like,
I
you
know.
look at like a Neil Patel stuff that comes,
Mhm.
and I look at his stuff, I'm like, God, there's a lot of links on this page.
Yeah, and they put them right next to each other, which I have like a 3 sentence rule. I mean, so I don't
Yeah,
like to see my links on top of I mean, it's weird how people just haphazardly do this stuff. But,
yeah, yeah.
I think you'll definitely see an improvement if you improve content.
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, compared to buying links or whatever, links take a while to show up and they
Yep.
take a while to give power. But you start changing content, you're going to start seeing good or bad pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Terry, since the last time you've been on the show, we started doing something called rapid fire
Okay.
questions, just like you're in a hot press release here,
Okay.
press conference. All right. So here we go. I'm going to give you 5 questions. And I just want to, baby, just don't even, well, I want you to think, but quickly think, right? All right. You
Mhm.
ready?
Yep.
All right. Number 1, early bird or night owl? When do you do your best work?
Oh, early bird.
Early bird. All right, good. What's something you're surprisingly bad at despite running a tech company? And let's not talk
Um,
about golf.
Using technology to keep track of notes. I
Okay.
still use notepads. I still use organizers. I still use
Oh,
whiteboard.
man, I do that. I'm so bad. I do that all the time.
I've even
I'm
had people
horrible.
call me out. What are you using an organizer for?
I know. All right. If you weren't in tech at all, what would you be doing instead?
Um, Probably teaching something. I like teaching.
Mm.
So I mean, not kids. I like teaching adults. Um, but I something around
Right.
teaching, and you know, I mean, I taught real estate. I've been teaching this stuff for a long time. Yeah, I'd probably be teaching. So
Teaching.
I would
All right.
definitely like to go back into flipping houses
All
again. That
right.
was where I had
Oh, yeah. I
probably the
bet that
most
was
fun
fun.
teaching.
Yeah. All right. Listen to this question carefully. What's a skill everyone thinks they need in business, but actually don't?
Finance,
Finance. Hmm. All right. 5th question. What's one app on your phone you use way more than you should?
Facebook.
Facebook. All right. Got a bonus question. Dang. What's the best advice you ever ignored and how did it turn out
Again, around finance.
around finance?
Yeah. And I found out afterwards I lost a lot of money because I
Oh,
didn't know my numbers.
mhm,
So, and
mhm.
that's probably been my biggest business, even back flipping houses. We were making so much money and I was just basically flushing it down the toilet just by my
Yeah.
spend. So I hired a CFO and that kind of made it a little bit better, but he was also spending. Anyways, it was I think all around I knowing my numbers is like my big thing. I still
Yeah.
look at that all the freaking time. You know, if I take on a guy for 2,500 a month, what are my numbers around
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
client? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and that's why I see a lot of people running into problems, you know, because I do a lot of white label and they'll come to me, "Hey, can you do this for 500 bucks?" No, can't do that
Yeah.
for
No, I
500 bucks.
can't.
Neither can you know?
Yes.
And so it's you know, but I think the biggest thing is that you really people just in business in general just need to know their numbers, especially like us. We're trying to sell in 2 years.
Yeah.
So you know, I think you and I have talked about this because we've been to the same
Mhm.
events. That you know, it's once you get ready to find an exit, you have to start years
Yep. Yep.
early. And that was when the biggest shock was is going, oh
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, Chris, and by the way, anybody, hey guys, if you're looking, thinking about selling, Chris Martinez is a great guy to get a hold of and get some advice and
He'll
helping
be at
you
spring
find
training.
out that path. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of his agency at the top of my head, but
Bloom.
Chris Martinez. Blue, yeah, what is it?
Bloom. Yeah, Bloom.
Bloom. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be at
Yeah,
spring
but
training. He was one of the first people I invited because I think
yeah,
no matter what stage your agency's in, you need to know this is, you know, you need to know that
yeah,
at some point you're going to have to do something.
yeah, yeah. No, and
So,
Chris is just outstanding. All right. How about this and thoughts on this for you? I've seen a number of different kind of headlines roll out and talking about um, AIO and the impact on clicks and kind of this world that we're in of kind of this clickless searches. How are you dealing with that? How can companies And how should they measure success when the clicks don't happen like they used to?
Um, I again, this is first of all, you got to know that you're getting these clicks, and that's the biggest thing. And I use Matumo; it's my number one tracking tool that I have. I love it, and because it is very good at telling you what clicks come from AI. And even though we see an uptick in traffic, it's the clicks that we're paying attention to.
Right,
You can increase traffic 15% and lose 5% of clicks.
right.
So, and we have these conversations. It's one of the things I'm adamant about. I'm adamant about strategy calls monthly with my clients. And this is one of the reasons is because this is the shift that's happening so fast. When you got 15 clicks last month from ChatGPT, and now all of a sudden you've got 50 clicks in 1 month, now business owners need to start paying attention to that because you've
Mhm.
lost that from
Right,
from probably the organic clicks,
right.
and so but I think the biggest thing is finding the accuracy of the traffic. And I've got my ranking tool says it ranks AI. It doesn't rank AI. None of the. I think that's the big thing. All I care about is right now is traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm not getting traffic for all my clients from AI, that is a priority. We need to find out why
Mhm.
and start getting those. But again, it's also interesting because of what's in the GBP world. We're not seeing AI affect
Mm.
that. When you're talking maps and you look at maps traffic and where maps clicks are coming from, it's still the same.
I was just gonna ask you that because, I love Joy Hawkins. I've
Mhm.
read a lot of her stuff and follow
She's
her
coming to spring
on.
training too, by the way.
Oh, I know it, I'm excited. Um, but, she's all up in arms, and I think rightfully so, in regards to how Google is, uh I'm gonna say manipulating, but not necessarily in a bad way. She will say in a bad way, probably, but how Google is kind of manipulating the map data and visibility and
Mhm.
just really playing around with how listings are showing up a lot.
Well, and
And
Google always does
yeah,
that. Google always adjusts the
I
SERPs.
don't you think that it's even more than what it's been?
I think Google is panicking. Yes, I think
Yeah,
Google's panicking. I think they need to update the SERPs to keep people in the SERPs, and so they don't go to the AIs.
yeah.
So, and it's
But
frustrating. It's
like
'cause I do a lot of, you know, I
in
do
the
a lot
map
of ads. Huh?
Yeah, in the map pack alone, though, I mean, I've seen, and Joy has thrown out examples of it as well, but I've
Mhm,
seen where it's just, like, uh, 3, sponsored listings and 1, 2 maybe of organic listings in the
mhm.
map listing, and I'm like, "Good lord." That
And,
is
and I think that's gonna be, because and again, I love Joy also, but I'm not seeing that. I'm
mm.
seeing 1 sponsored and 3 organic,
Oh, yeah, I've seen the multiple sponsored and, like,
I
1
mean,
or 2, yeah.
and if we do see, the multiple
Mm,
sponsored, then we're probably gonna start talking AdWords, pay per click. I try to get everybody in our friggin' existence to do some sort of pay per click.
yeah.
Something, you know? It's actually one of my big regrets in my agency is that we didn't get on the pay per click bandwagon soon enough. We should have been doing it 2 years ago instead of now.
Don't you think I still believe that if you're doing some PPC, it's going to influence how
Oh,
you are.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
I don't
we
care.
when
People will say, "No, there's no connection." I'm like, "Bullshit." I'm
yeah,
calling bullshit
I
on
had
that.
it, and it wasn't a test, but this was I had a moving company, and they sold out, and the new company didn't hire me, but they were spending 15 grand a month on pay per click, and when the company sold and I stopped the pay per click, yeah, they went down. Nothing else happened.
Yes.
Nothing. They
Yeah.
went down about 30%
Yeah.
overall.
And you
And so
could say, and people will argue like, "Well, it's because of engagement, right? They're not getting the same kind of engagement, as maybe as what they
you can
were."
argue
And
with whatever you want, but it's
I'm
just,
like, that's what I say. Listen, I think if you're spending money, Google is gonna reward you.
mm,
I don't know.
and
Uh,
I think Google could obviously do a better job too. I think brand new accounts, I think Google should be sending all the clicks to that brand new account so they spend more money.
Yeah,
instead of putting them into a seasoning state for 2 weeks and spending
yeah,
$500 and getting nothing.
right. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
little
Yeah,
hint for Google.
I know it.
But
I
I
know
think
it.
the big, yeah, I think pay per click or any paid advertising. I'm getting pretty dang good at Facebook ads right now. So, and that's another area that I
Yeah.
think the retargeting aspect,
Yeah,
chasing
I'm
people
playing
around
around
the.
with Facebook ads. I've been playing around with it for the last, 4 or 5 months, and, I've
Yeah.
had some interesting, successes, some good, like, really good. I was
Mhm.
doing and Robbie, if you're still listening, I was doing some AI video, using Robbie's program, his method and his that he taught, great class. And we kicked out a bunch during kind of like the November, December timeframe, kind of doing some thematic kinds of things around the holidays and with our PRs
Mhm.
and such. Man, I had one that was just monster. I couldn't believe the visibility and the clicks that were flying through off of this one video ad that we did was incredible. And
Mhm.
now I'm playing around with some other ad forms, but I think I'm gonna go back to doing the AI video because it was just so impactful, but,
Yeah, I
um
agree, and that's one of the things I'm slacking on the video side, and Skyler's getting pretty good because he's doing all the spring training, images and stuff now.
yeah,
But I've done a few AI videos, but I'm slacking in that area, and it's one of the things
yeah,
I think about all the freaking time because
yeah.
I'm so busy everywhere else.
Well, what I did, I bought Robbie's class and I had one of the gals on our team go through it, and so she's just, like, does it for us, and
Mhm.
she's I've asked her, like, "How long does it take you to do this and with this process and in this method?" She's like, "Yeah, maybe an hour, hour and a half now. I got it
Right
down
on.
pretty
Maybe
good."
I need to get
Like
Robbie's class.
like, wow. Yeah, and it's fun stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right, well, let's talk spring training. Let's pull this bad boy up here.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, you have got to be in the midst of I don't know, you or your, lovely partner, Elizabeth, I don't know, I would imagine you guys are, at least knee deep in everything with it, right?
Yeah, we are. It's been an interesting road this year. We're obviously at the same location that we were at last year. Everybody loved it, but this year it was a little bit different because of how long it took to get the contract, and the people we were dealing with at the hotel had some
Right,
health
right.
issues. It just was a long process, and that's why we didn't. I feel like I'm a little bit late in promoting it, just because I really didn't have anything in writing that we didn't do that, even though everything verbally was all set. But anyway, so that was the kind of weird thing this year. But this year, we're really looking forward to just there's a whole bunch of new things we're going to be implementing. Um, we're going to be doing I can't give too much of it away, but
Oh,
um, the, the cool thing is that the
come on, no
schedule.
no bomb, no, massive,
Well, I
like,
mean,
"Hey, you're hearing it live, first time right here."
Not yet. Just because we're at the we're still working on the schedule, so I've still got a couple speaker openings.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to figure out some different things to do with throughout the day. But yeah, it's gonna be this one's gonna knock it out of the park. It's we do very well every single year, but this one I think with AI and all the different things happening with automations and
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty much changed the game. So,
yeah.
and even, getting into the sponsorships, I've got a bunch of these people that built these little apps and they want to get them out to the network. And
I
this is
know
the
it.
conference to do that with,
Yeah,
and, not only will you be able to get it out to a couple hundred people live, but we also have, 4 or 5 thousand people in our database.
yeah.
Um, but I think it's this year we had 83 people want to speak, and that was the most I've ever had. And and of course,
And
a lot of them I don't know,
how many speaking slots are there?
about 30.
Yeah,
So, you know, um, And so that's probably the nice thing about it is a lot of them I don't know, and if I don't know you, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put you on stage.
Yeah, or
Um,
you better come with some pretty outstanding referrals, right?
yeah,
References.
exactly.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, it's I don't know. We have this is the fun time for a fun time and stressful time, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
So this is the time you get to write a big check and then just hope everything works out.
I love it, I love it. I speaking of which, I have to go look. I usually have everything when I have to I think I have my flights. I don't know that I have my hotel. Is the block open now?
I
Can I
think Elizabeth's getting that this week.
Okay, alright, alright.
Again, that's another thing that I feel like we're late on. So
Um, I have to go look at do I have it? I'm looking at my, like, okay, do I have SEO? No, I don't think I have got anything. I don't oh, god, do I not even have oh my god, do I not even have my flights? Wow. Jeez, I don't even think I have my flights lined up yet. Holy crap. Alright, time to jump on this bad boy. Um, yeah. Well, you got the whole thing going on. You're as far as a schedule, let me flip to that. You're doing, um, you got kind of this is this a VIP day, the Wednesday? Is that
yeah,
the VIP day?
Wednesday's the VIP day. Yeah,
Okay, so you got if you love golf, this is one for me that I generally like go, I'll fly in that day because I don't golf. So
exactly.
if I don't get there until, 2 o'clock is no big deal.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the VIP stuff's gonna start around 1 or 1:30, and then, yeah, then we're gonna do a whole afternoon fancy dinner, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then the tech day you're doing on the Thursday.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
this is where it kinda is different. The tech day and this was a recommendation from a couple people last year. I'm also maybe doing something the Monday after the conference around what we're gonna learn the tech day.
mm,
So that's still up in the air, but yeah, tech day is the most popular day, always has been. Um, People are gonna show some wicked stuff, and
yeah,
I've got
yeah, yeah. So it rolls through tech day, boom, 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 and then the conference really starts for anybody who didn't do these days,
yeah,
starts on the Friday.
yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays to conference.
Alright, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you got a 3-day.
And it's
Alright,
just like the last few years, we're doing the morning main stage sessions, and then in the afternoon, people pick their own adventure
right.
and go to whatever breakout rooms you want to go to learn from. And yeah, I think one
Nice.
of the biggest things this year is I've built an app for the conference.
I was wondering, I was gonna ask you, I thought I saw something on a post maybe you did a screenshot of, and I
Yeah,
was gonna ask you, like, have you built something kinda cool in
yeah,
support
no,
of
this thing is gonna it's really gonna take our conference to the next level. There's apps out there for conferences,
Yeah,
obviously, but this is more in line with our people. So,
nice,
but yeah, you'll be able to schedule dinners together. You'll be able to even make reservations from the freaking app. I mean, this thing is
nice,
pretty freaking
nice. Oh, wow,
cool.
nice, nice. Yeah, really
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I was just at, I went to Affiliate World, or Affiliate Summit West,
Yeah.
ASW, at the end of January, and, that was pretty cool, but they have their own app, and so that made connecting with people really very easy, so,
Yeah,
um,
that's what because
yeah,
when we all went to traffic and conversion was the first one on first app,
yeah,
and it was the app was actually pretty lame.
yeah.
But it's also hard to have an event in Vegas and get everybody together to do stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, very cool. All right, all right. Well, let's see. Let's take a look at our presenters. So, of course, they're the two of you. We've got our MC and facilitators. So, familiar faces there, and just a huge list of great, great speakers. I had Marty on the show last week. That
Mhm.
guy, I don't care. This guy blows me away every time I talk with him. I mean,
Yeah.
it is he's got me thinking about I need to, like, completely rethink how I am doing some marketing stuff right now, with his he's got a book coming out about this deep positioning thing that I'm already
Yeah.
on the wait list on, so he
Yeah,
promised me,
he's,
it's like
I actually get the credit of introducing Marty to our industry
yes.
at the first spring training.
Well,
So,
we talked about that he has opened spring training since the inception, right? I
mhm,
think since the very first one, he was the very first speaker. So he
yes.
he he finds it as a point of pride, that
And he does. He's
yeah,
very well liked.
yes. And he's
One of
great.
the goals of hosting these events is impressing the other speakers.
Yeah.
And when Marty got done, Clint Butler and Kyle Roof came up to me and said, "Where the hell did you find him? Holy shit." And so that just set everything in motion. But
I
he's
know it.
so
Dude, I mean, this is just like the A team here. I'm like scrolling through it, like there's even Robbie's gonna be on. Oh, you're
yeah,
bringing Elias over
Elias
to
is coming
see.
back.
That's good. As Charles, oh, he spoke like a couple of years ago, I think,
Yeah,
didn't he, Charles?
he spoke a couple years ago. He came 3 years ago, I think, as a Fox employee, just a
Yeah,
regular attendee.
yeah,
And yeah, a great friend. He's just an awesome
yeah, yeah. I love it.
guy.
I love it. All right, we got Joy. Yeah.
You got Bill Hartzer. Bill
Yeah,
was just
I,
freaking head over heels to freaking come. So
I have not seen Bill in 5 years. I don't know,
mhm.
or longer, something like that. Maybe I don't even. It's been a long time.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, Ariel, she is incredible. God, she is just so spot on. Um, yeah. Corey, Kyle, Chad, Jason Guy. I don't know this guy.
Yeah, Jason, he's Google Ads, one of the best ads guy
Google
out
ad.
there.
Okay.
And he spoke at the digital event. And he's just I learned so much from him on ads. But that's because you got to bring in the ads, you got to bring in the
I know it. I
you,
know it.
that's one thing this conference is. We're actually trying to semi rebrand this conference because it's not just SEO, obviously. It's the whole digital marketing stuff. So,
Mm,
but yeah, I'm hoping to have all this website all updated this week. Kyle Roof obviously is a new addition.
yeah.
Um, Kyle is, he's been in a couple of ours. He used to live in Phoenix before he
Yeah.
moved.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, this will be great. So, folks, if you haven't already, go hit the site, grab your ticket. It starts like that 29th, I think it was, right, of
Mhm.
April, and
Yeah,
then rolls through. You have to let me know before I buy my return ticket home if you're going to do something on Monday or not,
I
because
will.
then I
I
kind of
will.
like, okay, well, I gotta hold on, gotta change my flight. I don't want to do that.
Well, and then
Um,
I think the coolest thing we did last year was our VIP party after party at our house.
oh yeah, yeah,
That was pretty cool. So
yeah,
we're definitely doing that again this year too.
yeah.
So you can use Terry 2026 for a coupon code and get 20% off.
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna put that on there. Terry
Terry
2026,
2026. Yeah.
like that. That's what I got here. Terry.
Yes.
There you go. All right, folks, use that. Save 20% off right now. Boom. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I'll
Don't
probably
waste
shut that coupon code down next week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, boom. Wow, that's gonna be outstanding. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's good to hear you kind of playing around as well. I love the idea about the app. Are you doing that are you vibe coding that? What do you Cloud Code? What are you building this stuff in?
I do everything in Replit. So
Okay.
I've built about 5 apps now, I think. This is the 5th one. So, I've been building apps for my clients,
Mhm.
so I've got a big landscape client, and I built an app for him, a scheduling app, that also ties into weather. So if rain's in the forecast, it automatically emails all the people and says, "Hey, we might not make it this day, but we'll
Nice.
reschedule you here." So,
Yeah.
but I think automation is probably my most exciting thing right now because you can really make an impact for your clients if you can help them
Oh,
automate.
man. Yeah.
Just ask them what their flow is,
Yeah.
and then I kind of have an advantage, kind of like Cato and everybody, because I'm a software developer by trade, so my brain thinks that way.
Right.
But I learned a long time ago to build these apps in Chat GPT and then take it over into Replit and let Replit just go. And I think it's a pretty cool. I think vibe coding is pretty freaking cool, especially from a developer standpoint.
Yeah.
I played with Lovable. I didn't really like Lovable as much.
I've just been building I just yesterday just built, a site in Lovable, and was like, "Wow," was pretty impressed by it. I've built other sites in, using Manus,
Mhm.
and then kind of launching through that platform, but I'm playing around with Lovable. The challenge right now with Lovable is unless you don't if you don't wanna host it, through them, then it's like converting it to, you know, you can take it, put it over in GitHub and host it that route, but if you wanna host it, and have a bit more control and, you gotta convert it, right,
Yeah.
into, like, a WordPress theme, and so I'm playing around with that right now with one. I'm gonna see how that's gonna
Well, I
work.
think I think it's going to be interesting to see how do these things rank. You know,
Well, exactly right, yeah,
And that's I mean, because the old, a lot of builders don't rank. That's the bottom
yeah,
line. They just don't. And
yeah,
so I haven't actually built an app with any of these tools yet, just because we do so well with WordPress and Aveda. But I do think it's interesting that people are building. Yeah, you can build a website,
yeah.
but you can do the same thing with Wix and Weebly. So
I know, I know. Well, right now, so there's a converter, it's, WP Converter, I think is what it's called,
Mhm.
that you can upload your Lovable files into it, and it converts it to a custom, WordPress theme.
Right on.
But, they say on their site that they are coming soon, a Elementor and I can't remember the other, theme that they're launching soon. So that'll convert it into like an Elementor, theme.
Yeah. Which I think
So
I think Lovable would be stupid not to do that themselves.
yeah,
I mean, so a lot of these apps, and one thing I don't like about Replit, and a lot of these apps have billing issues and shit like that. But I think the biggest thing is that just ask people what they're doing. Hey, how are you doing? How are you setting
yeah,
appointments?
right,
How are you communicating? How are you
yeah,
retargeting? How are you doing your emails?
yeah,
And stop being the SEO guy. Be the marketing
yeah,
guy.
yes, yeah.
And I've been
Well,
preaching
that
that
is
for
very
years.
much that actually is some of the best advice right there, which is you've gotta be thinking, how are you marketing, and to be a full marketer, not just an SEO guy.
100%.
Because I think especially in today's environment, it really is much more broad, than just SEO.
Well, you have to be,
Yeah, yeah,
and I still get people coming to my university, and they'll go through my classes or my courses and stuff, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm ready to go." And are you really? You know? I built that,
Really?
and I need to
Oh, no.
update, which is what I'm planning on doing the month of March, is updating the university. But I built this a year and a half ago. It's literally, I mean, the schema course is awesome. That doesn't change
Right,
very
yeah,
much. But the on-page class definitely has changed
yeah,
over a year ago. So, and I preach in these things all the freaking time to, ask questions with your clients,
yeah,
be
yeah,
irreplaceable.
right,
If
right,
you're just a ranker, you're
yeah.
irreplaceable.
Right,
If you're
right.
just
Yeah,
the
you gotta be
PPC
that
guy,
trusted advisor,
you know,
on all things of marketing. Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
The big medical spa I just got on Monday, that's the whole reason they came to me, is because they needed marketing help. They didn't
mm,
wanna have an SEO guy and a pay-per-click guy and a, Facebook person, and we have all that. And
right.
we have all that to be able to say, look, it all ties in together anyways. You
Yep.
know, I
Well,
don't work well if I'm doing the, optimization side, and there's a separate pay-per-click guy that we're not communicating the data.
Right. Right.
That's frustrating to me because he has the real data. I have
Yeah.
typically
Yeah.
history data.
Right.
And so I always, if there's an AdWords person involved, I always try to get that into our umbrella as quickly as possible. So
Well, and ideally, it really makes sense because if you're doing their SEO and you've built their site and I
mhm,
mean, you have an intimate connection and understanding of this client to begin with. And so you should be, more equipped than anybody else to like take them into other channels of marketing, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm also talking local type businesses. So I'm not talking about
right,
gambling sites. If
right.
you're an SEO for a gambling site, dude, that's all you should be focused on. And I get that,
Yeah,
but I'm talking about, the local med spas and plumbers and
right,
roofers,
right, right, right.
that
Yeah,
call it the normal freaking people. But
yeah,
and because all these people need help. And that's the
yeah.
thing is that, I think I read an article. Gosh, I need to try to find it. I was actually going to post about it because I don't know if I believed it, but I guess more businesses nowadays are going out of business than ever before,
Oh, really?
new businesses. And like, it seems to me it's like easier to start a business now. Maybe not, but, and I'm looking
I
at it
think
from,
it is easier. I would say I think it's
so,
probably more difficult to get traction.
yeah,
Um,
that's that, especially if you're, in the home service industry and you're starting your new roofing company, because you get people that just start a business and they don't have any funds to start the business,
I know it. Yes.
and it's, I don't, I'm like, if you don't have 12 months of funds to hire me, you're not my client. You
Yeah.
know, if you're gonna leave in 3 months because you ran out of money, we shouldn't have been doing SEO. We should have
Yeah.
just been doing pay per click.
Right, right.
And so I have these conversations with people. I took on a med spa 2 months ago. This person never should have been doing SEO. It's not even, it's, it, it's a, such a, it's a whole lab system. And so there's really not any search for it. You should be doing Facebook ads. You should
Right,
be getting yourself out there to people. People aren't searching for your stuff because they don't
right.
know about your stuff.
They don't know your stuff.
And so you need to get out to Facebook and LinkedIn and these channels and say, "Hey, look what
Yeah.
we have. This
Right,
is,"
right.
and and he's like, "Nobody's ever told me that before." I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I mean, it's not all about one thing." And
Yeah.
that's why I preach to my students all the time. Your discovery system is the most important system in your agency. If you don't have a solid discovery system to weed out people that don't fit your model or
Mm.
mold, and maybe even shift them in a different direction, then you've got a problem.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like Sean Mitchell, him and I have talked
yeah.
about the onboarding process. It's critical, the
Mhm.
discovery and onboarding, to start the thing off right. And
Right.
so I'm all about discovery. And people, I've talked to people, I maybe 50% I take,
Yeah.
and that's just because of, number one, you didn't follow my three main questions.
Mm.
Why did you contact me today? What's different than yesterday? How much money do you have? What's the state of your company? And what are your goals for the next 12 months? If you don't
Yeah,
have those three things, I you're not going to be a client of mine.
yeah. Not
So,
gonna be a good fit. Yep.
and I'm done with these people. One of the reasons I used to have a passion helping brand new businesses. That was my passion. But nowadays they just don't have any money. They want to build a business, but they don't realize that you need to spend 2,500 to 5 grand on a website. You need to have 2,500 a month in marketing, and
Yep.
that's not just SEO. That's
Right,
SEO,
right,
the whole
right,
pack, at least.
right, right.
And and it's great you went out and bought 4 trucks. It's awesome, but you don't have any money to fill those 4 trucks.
I know, right?
So but again, I think it's, I think the old days of just taking on a client to take on a client are deadly right now.
Yeah,
You can really, really hurt people.
yeah.
And
Well, I was gonna say it really doesn't benefit anybody. I mean, it doesn't benefit you in the long run, I don't think, and certainly doesn't benefit, that client.
yeah, for sure. And
So
I just think people need to start, and another thing that's interesting too is that, when is the human aspect going to come back?
Yeah.
I think that's coming too. So
I
we're
think
getting
I
so
think that if
bombarded.
somebody had to ask me, like, where do I think, 12 months, I'm like, I think that the people will be hungry for real human uh,
Exactly.
connection and content and engagement or interaction, because there'll be so much more AI driven content and
Mhm.
influence out that people are like, no, I want to talk to somebody real. I want to,
Yeah,
I want to see something real. Yeah.
exactly. And that's why, it's these AI chatbots and stuff. Those are all awesome, but you also have to pay attention to, those eventually are
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
go become a negative. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think you're
so,
right about that.
but
Well,
I
listen,
think,
buddy,
but I
thank you
think
so
it's
much.
nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being on the show. And we've got I'm flashing up here. Next week, I've got Alex C. Barr on the show. Do you know
Yeah.
Alex?
Oh yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I've not had Alex on the show before, so I'm kind of excited to have him on. It will be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Folks,
I've said that we're pretty good friends with Alex, and
yeah, yeah,
he's an awesome freaking guy.
yeah. So folks, go ahead. Go check out SEO Spring Training. There's the site up in the chat right there. And then use coupon code Terry 2026. Save 20% off. Man, you can't
Heck
beat
yeah.
that. It is going to be awesome. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. Terry, thanks so much for being on the show. Always such a pleasure, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All
Looking
right.
forward to it.
All right. And everybody